back to regular session. Have a motion to approve. There's a second.
I second.
Call for the question.
Question.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. We're back in regular session. Next item on the printed agenda is item number 14, public comments. Public comments are held at 2 minutes maximum time. Kitchen, how you doing today?
Good. How are y'all? Good afternoon. First issue is your proper policy and procedures manual says 10 minutes. I'm not sure why it was changed to 2 minutes for this meeting, but I'll try to be quick and keep it to 2 minutes. But I did want to mention that this board is subject to the open meetings laws. So we were told we were going to move it to the smaller meeting, and it was advertised for this meeting, so I'm glad y'all moved it back here. So my discussion today is about the request to update the commissioners on the state of affairs for the assessor's office. And I understand it was kind of last minute. Completely understand that people couldn't make it. Mr. George did present an update on the sales ratio. We did get some good news yesterday. I'm glad to hear that. But we did not have an update in writing or anybody that showed up. So my point or my hope for Tuesday night's meeting was that we would get an update on the issues that are public. I guess everybody knows about the issues going on in the department, the climate of the department. And on September 5th, I came in front of the board and after the executive session that you guys had, I was real concerned about what was happening then with employees coming forward, other employees coming forward, discussions in private meetings, and then what would happen after that. I think we all should have known that that climate was going to be pretty volatile in that department. So since then, I know I and most of the other commissioners I've talked to have had several complaints from most of the employees and from some in the public that are overhearing things, other members, staff members in the county that are hearing things about how bad it is over there, how bad things are in that department. And I think for us to say, at a minimum, it's probably inefficiently run right now, and we've had, and this is this is in the newspapers publicly, that we've had an employee charged and arrested and still no action taken from the department or from this board. The only action that we know that was taken was by the county manager and the HR department, and that was to offer Mr. George some space at another facility to just split the department up so that we could kind of cool things down in the department. Whether it doesn't matter who believes if the accusations are true or false. That's not for us to judge, I don't think. But when you have an issue between two employees in a department and one is arrested, I don't think anybody would agree to just bring them back in the department together. And had it not been for our county manager and the HR department, that would have happened. It's the authority and the responsibility of this board to not only assure equitable tax assessment, but it's over the oversight of that whole department. That's not a responsibility of the Board of Commissioners. It's not even our authority to do it. I would just say that when the current state of the department, being at what I consider dangerously critical at this point, for the well-being of that staff and for the public services that they put out, I'll ask the same thing I asked at the last meeting. What is the plan? I would be highly disturbed if the continued inaction is the plan. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Mr. Kitchen. Well, could I address your concern? There was a plan. evolved from a question about the ratio and it being inaccurate. And we as a board decided, instead of taking, immediate action, allow the process to work. So we went through an appeal, and then we went through this week, went through the adjustment, and it showed an uptick in the ratio study. I think it would have been a little, presumptuous of us to not allow the process to work. And as I understand it, or at least the way I've been told, in the complaints and the concerns from staff was that there were some inequities in valuations that directly affected the sales ratio. Right? So without letting the process play out, which you just said, favorably, you did get the 33.94% off of the last review. Then I think the process has played out. Now, I think we're in a position to hear any comments or any concerns from personnel if there any action needs to be taken.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, an uptick from 31.4 to 33.9 was the goal, because 40 is still the.
It wasn't a goal.
Okay.
It was to show that this was over last year, so there's been some increase.
And I think Mr. George told y'all there were a lot of changes made in the last 2 months. This has been going on for 2 years, and the employees that came out and said the issues with why our values were so low are exactly what the state, the DOAA, and the review board told us were accurate. So everything that was brought to us was accurate. And the changes that have been made in the last 2 months have affected that to the 2.5, 2.7%, which is great. But we're still undervalued. We are still failing our sales ratio study this year by more than 3 points.
But we're making aggressive attempts to increase it, correct? You said it yourself favorably, we got it.
We're in our 3rd year. Why, this should have been when we brought it up a year ago, when we failed an appeal 2 years ago. So I think we're way past the, hey, we're doing something now. I think it was a had to do something. It was a Hail Mary, and it got us closer to the goal line. But I hope we don't think that we're anywhere close to being where we need to be.
We're not to the optimum level, I agree. But I tell you this, I mean, to be fair, again, as I understood, some of all the dialogue was being carried on was from, persons making, statements and accusations that the premise was all on the sales ratio. As I understood it.
Right. And I guess my concern in the department is when you have, whatever the reason is, you should have leadership in a department from the top down to either squash that or make changes so that doesn't keep going. And we knew there was an issue, and it has escalated to the point that we've had somebody arrested. How that plays out in the court does not change the fact that we had an issue, we had people that come forward, we had people that got arrested, and we still, had it not been for the county attorney, we would still have those 2 people come back the next day in the same office sitting with each other. What would have happened next? Because there's been no action by Mr. George or by this board. And that is your responsibility, totally your responsibility. There's nothing we can do about it.
And again, at our last, I think, our last meeting, we stayed here about, 8 o'clock or whatever time we stayed. And our purpose for that was trying to identify what the problems were, to try to address them. We're not there on a day-to-day basis, but we were open to listen to the concerns. And at that time, we may have been out of order, we may not, but our intent was genuine.
Right.
To sit here as long as it took to have every individual come in and express. And now we've been told by the county attorney that evidence, if it's evidence, to be presented in an open meeting. But I can tell you, it was time consuming to sit gathering information so that we can make a proper disclosure and make the appropriate action. That's all.
I just feel like there should have been some immediate action, because what resulted was, and I know hindsight's 20/20, what happened was, after 3 hours of deliberation in a closed session, I came and asked then, what is our plan? And you said, we're working on something. And that was 32 days ago. And since then, we've had a volatile department with an arrest made, with something's happening, but it's not splitting that department up. It's not moving people around. As far as I know, I don't even know if anybody's been, there's any discussions other than in that executive meeting.
Again, the information, as you well know, has to be presented in an open meeting. We have not received any information, I can tell you a disclosure, in any private session or in a phone call or anything of that nature, okay? I can tell you going forward, we're planning, subject to the availability of the county attorney, and according to the board, if they take action to approve it, to have a call meeting on next Thursday at 4:30 with the county attorney present. And at that time of that call meeting, to hear any evidence or any documents or whatever that may be relevant to personnel issues. So that is our strategy, and that's what we've done to try to address some of the concerns in the department.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
During that time, if I may, during that time, we also went through the peer review.
Mhm.
And so that was very time consuming.
I went through it. That was one day
No, I mean,
of an hour or so.
everybody. It was
Right,
that
right.
week. So, any chances on when that is supposed to be done? Because that can answer a lot of questions as well. Do you know?
They told us 3 to 4 weeks. I think we were in there. I hadn't heard anything
He said
different.
he's gonna have a big,
It'll be real soon then.
thing,
Mhm.
so, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, sir.
How you doing this evening?
I'm good. How you doing?
Tim, right? I'm sure you remember me, James Collins. We spoke briefly after the prior meeting.
Yes, sir.
James Collins. Everyone hear me all right?
Yes, sir.
Hey, I'd like to start by congratulating President Trump on winning his election on Tuesday. Looking forward to him returning to the White House. I tell you at this point, I'm sorry?
I'm not sure what does that have to do with our meeting.
What's a public comment?
Oh, okay, I got you.
At this point, I think everyone in here must assume y'all have a real humiliation kink. Because
Sorry, what?
a humiliation kink, you have a thing for being humiliated, for embarrassing yourselves, because that's all we've seen you do in this county for the last month and a half. Spoke to you last time. There's only 3 of you here tonight. The 4th person that was here last time was Mary. Is that correct?
Last time.
There's a 4th person.
Not the last meeting, 2 meetings ago, Mr.
Okay.
President.
But I'm saying there was another lady here last time, correct?
Mr.
Not the
White.
last time,
Okay.
Okay,
2 meetings ago.
But you've had another person resign, correct?
2 meetings ago.
Okay. You've had another person resign. I'd recommend the 3 of y'all resign. I think that's the best plan, the best course of action. What you've seen is tonight, y'all should be embarrassed. To try and move the meeting to a smaller location, to not have it live streamed, to limit this gentleman to 2 minutes when he's the only person here making a comment, y'all should be embarrassed. Y'all should be ashamed. I mean, it is ridiculous the fact that you're trying to hide the problem that you've got. You've had an employee arrested. You've had 32 days for a plan where there's none. What your plan's that we'll wait and see a little longer? It's not getting better. I recommend y'all resign. Let the county commissioners put some people in place that can fix the problem you have. I recommend at the point when they fix the problem, you quietly go to them and thank them for fixing the mistakes that y'all have made. Fortunate it's not like President. In a year, no one's going to remember that y'all have made all this mess. So that's my plan. I think it's a pretty concise one, pretty easy. Shouldn't even take 32 days. You could have it done tonight. So thank you all for your time.
Thank you
Thank
for
you for your comment.
your opinion.
Anybody else? Hearing none, we close the public comment section. As stated, Ms. Kitchens, I would like to ask the board, would you consider a call meeting to be held on November the 14th at 4:30, subject to the county attorney being available? We need to take a motion on that. And if the county attorney isn't available at that time, then do you want to allow for an alternate time? Thursday. I won't be in town. Monday's a holiday. I won't be in town Tuesday and Wednesday. I'll be back Thursday. Friday's not a good day.
Let's just see what the attorney has available.
Okay,
So we'll just
well, let's,
And you get
grab
with
at
us.
straws.
well, let's go ahead. I entertain a motion for the Board of Tax Assessors to have a call meeting on November 14th at 4:30. Irregardless whether the county attorney is available or not, to discuss personnel issues. Do you have a motion on that request?
Okay, I make a motion that we meet on, next Thursday on the 14th at 4:30.
Do I have a second? Been properly moved in second. Call for the question. All those in favor? Those opposed?
4:30 p.m.
Motion carries. There'll be a call meeting on November 14th at 4:30, in this building.
Same place.
Yeah.
Okay.
For the sake of the audience, there was no there was no misgiving. I asked the chief appraiser, could we accommodate a smaller room? It just, in my opinion, it made it easier to move papers around instead of sliding down his desk. And the only reason I knew that room was available because when I had a peer review, there was a boardroom and the table seemed to be a little bit more conducive to moving papers around. But we can meet in here, to be honest with you, but that was my call. And there was nothing, mischievous about doing it. So, because usually there's not an audience here. Usually it's just staff and that's it. But, going into the future, if it's not necessary, then I don't see, utilizing the Board of Commissioners room just to entertain, board members and two staff. Okay. With that it, Chair would entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting. May I hear a second?
I second.
It's been properly moved and second to adjourn. Motion carries.